Hello everyone, welcome to the Varanus Vault on the Truck Talk Reptile Network. Tonight I'm joined with Nick Lillis from Unlimited Exotics. We've got some really cool chat to get on with tonight. Lots of cool monitors that Nick breeds, and we'll talk about his latest success with some peat stroke monitors. Just wait for a few people to log in. If everyone can like, comment and subscribe, it really helps the channel. It's absolutely free. Hi Nick, I'll get you straight on, mate. Wait for everyone. How you doing, mate?
What's up?
All good, mate. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
Excellent. Do you want to just tell people who you are? You've flown under my radar a little bit. I've heard Uncle Mike talk about you a lot. And just say what got you into reptiles, how you started Unlimited Exotics.
Yep. Well, Uncle Mike's my mentor. He's been helping me for the last 5 or 6 years now. So he's always hyping me up to everybody. But shout out to Uncle Mike. And I've been doing reptiles with my dad since I was probably 12 or 13. He's really the one that got me into it. My dad's always brought animals home since I was a little kid, and he took me on my first show when I was 13. So he's the one who really pushed me, not pushed me into it, but give me the push into it, and it's been great ever since. I got probably fully dove into monitors about 5 years ago, and really been trying to breed and work on the stuff that really nobody else is since then.
Excellent. What sort of species did you start with before the monitors, and do you think they helped you in your monitor keeping now?
I'm biased because I look at it I don't know. To me, at least, monitors are top tier, and they're the hardest things to breed and keep. So anything before that, I think, helped me. I worked with a lot of agamids before that. I did frills and Aussie water dragons and stuff like that. But I also did panther, chameleons. I kind of dabbled in everything until I found my niche, and monitors are definitely that. There's a lot to them that makes me feel that way, but it's just the intelligence and how smart they are, and I love a challenge. I'm that kind of guy that just loves a challenge, and they always keep you on your toes. It's something different every time.
100%. And the chameleons probably helped quite a bit with that. They're pretty sensitive, even some of the more common ones. So that's a good basis to start with monitors. What some of the first monitors you started out with?
The first monitor that I bred was coming out, and that was a shot in the dark. I had no idea what I was doing, and then that's how I actually met Mike, because I got the babies, and I'm like, now what do I do? I can't get these things to eat, and he helped me get them going. And after that, it was just mostly water monitors until I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, I started getting a lot more Indicus and stuff that people aren't working with, because I mean, it's cool, but there's a lot of people doing black dragons and coming eye and stuff like that. And I wanted to focus on things that I felt needed more attention. And so I started dabbling into that a little bit.
So the water monitor seemed like a good way to get into the breeding. And the monitors seemed a little bit more easier than the Indicus stuff that we'll talk about a bit later on. So you start off with the coming eye. And how long was it? Did you kept those as babies and raised them up and bred them, or?
I actually grabbed a giant male, probably the biggest coming I've ever seen. He was 6 foot at a local show, and I was just trying to find a female for 6 months, and then a friend of mine, John Dragna, Sim Container, helped me. He gave me a female, and it was kind of go for it. And I tried and eventually got it down. First 2 clutches I missed. I didn't have proper lay box at all. It was terrible. But then once I figured that out, then I got 3 clutches from her, and that started it. That started the spark. It's just a different thing to see something come out of an egg. It's mine every single time. So that started the addiction, was the coming eye.
Did you find quite a difficult transition from the agamids and stuff to keeping the monitors? Was it a totally different way of looking at things?
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of space that they take is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And keeping the heat that hot and basking spots, that was the biggest thing. Is no one really, when I got into it, nobody gave away these secrets and stuff. And somebody once told me that you got to keep a basking about 120, 130. I'm like, you're going to cook them. That's crazy. So that's really different from agamids, where you're keeping them mostly humid, not really that hot. And then they get pretty cool too. So that was a huge change in pace. But after that, it's just like anything else. It's you walk by, you get to a certain beat, and then you just keep going and figuring more and more out. I mean, I still learn stuff every single day. We were talking before this about humidity and all that stuff, and how important that is. Like, that's something pretty new that I've learned, and that's after years of keeping all this stuff.
Yeah, I think the good thing with the monitors, they give you a little bit more feedback than say the Agamids and chameleons seem to in my experience. So that helps a little bit. But yeah, they can be tricky. I mean, we'll get into nesting and stuff like that, especially if there's these Indicus stuff. But with the keeping of the water monitors, how did you set those guys up?
I'm sorry, how did I?
What was your enclosure like? And are we using UV basking spots?
Yeah, I
nesting?
use UV for everything, and then I use Power Suns, which are UV too. With I usually have like 3 of those in an enclosure just to get that 120, 130 area. But I've always built my own stuff. I started with just like wood and plywood, and I'm like, this stuff gets nasty and deteriorates really fast. So I was going to do PVC, which I probably will in my next place, but here I actually did metal, solid sheets of metal, which was just, it was obtainable, and I thought it would hold heat really well, which it does. I mean, it insulates and holds humidity amazing. But it's very loud, and they like to bang against it, and it makes a lot of noise, and it's kind of hard to clean. And what I did is I did metal sheets throughout. 3 walls are metal sheets, and then the back wall is cement on all of them. So I sprayed cement on all the enclosures to try to make it look like rock. Like, I built these forms and tried to make it look like rock. Didn't really stick to the metal too well. So next time I definitely want to either do cinder block for all the enclosures or do PVC. But it works for what I do now. I've had good success with doing it that way. It's just when you're doing it, you always find something you want to change. Every time you build a big place like that, you always want to change stuff. So
Yeah, definitely. Do you find they use the rock wall on the back at all? The water monitors?
They will. They'll scale right up the wall and go bask if they're scared. It's like if they're just by themselves and they don't realize I'm watching, they'll just go up the logs and go up and bask. Because my basking's at like 6 feet. I try to keep everything pretty high, just to give them that gradient from probably like, I don't know, 75 maybe at the lowest on the bottom, and then I go all the way up to 120. So I put it pretty high to keep that gradient and to keep them more social, because it seems like when they're up here, they're not afraid of you. Like, even all of my enclosures, it's not a door where you walk in. It's a window that's probably about 3 feet. So I'm 6'4". So I got to like duck down and go in the window like that. But it makes them feel secure because I'm always looking up at them, and they don't feel intimidated by me unless I go in there and then they freak out. But that's really anything. But they do use that rock wall. They'll scale right up it if they get scared. Excellent.
Got Mike listening in, your mentor there, and Jin, his trusty partner on their podcast. So yeah, they do a podcast on the same network, Trap Talk Reptile Network, all monitor talk, opposite weekends to me. So hi guys, thanks for tuning in. I found it quite interesting how arboreal the water monitors were. I haven't worked with any water monitors really. A few Asian water monitors and stuff. Just when I had the shop, they were babies, but even the big 7-foot adults here are pretty arboreal. So that's quite interesting, I found.
It is pretty crazy. You think they would just be terrestrial with how big they are, but they'll use anything you give them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, ours are nearly always basking a good 6-7 foot up. We got some pretty big enclosures, and I was pretty shocked to see some of the really big ones we got here up at that level.
You think they would struggle too, but they scale it like it's nothing. My black dragon's 7.5 feet, and he walks right up a tree like it's no problem.
Excellent. How important do you think socialization is? Are you a big socializing guy with your monitors, with your breeders and stuff, or are you sort of hands off?
I have a lot of stuff that I am hands-on with. Again, stuff like the Indicus, I don't really mess with. My quints will come right out to me, but like the P strokes, I don't get hands-on with it. I think socialization with breeding, I think if you have a social monitor, it's a lot easier because there's not really anything scaring them or blocking that breeding. They're focused on one thing. Just like we were talking about beforehand too, like the Oore. It's like something that's so spastic. They have to calm down and get used to you first, which takes a long time. And being in a cage, and then they think about breeding. It's not like they just go right to it like a captive bred water monitor or something like that. So I think it's important. It's just hard. Like, it's hard to socialize 50 plus monitors. You can only spend so much time with each one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Is there anything you put in place to try and keep the stress down on some of those Indicus type animals in your enclosures?
The biggest thing, like that window that's down. So they just see this thing going back and forth. They don't see my face or like my movements. They'll see like my stomach and waist level just going past the cage. So they're not stressed by me. And they have a pretty much secluded enclosure. Just that 3-foot window is the only opening. That's the biggest thing. But I'm always so busy with work and stuff. Like they're pretty much in that facility by themselves. Besides those couple hours a day, that 4 or 5 hours that I'm there, the rest of the day they're by themselves. I just watch cameras. So they're pretty much, they feel secure just because I'm not in and about their cages messing with them all the time. So that's really all I do. I give them, I mean, just like anything else, like that's the main thing that I do. Just like anything else, you give them a lot of cork rounds, you give them a lot of hides, stuff like that. But that's just kind of the basic keeping.
Do you say you're using cameras in your enclosures?
Yeah, every enclosure that has a female or a pair has a camera.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's what I used to do with the tree monitors back in the UK. Unfortunately, I'd need lots of screens and lots of cameras now to do it. But yeah, I really do miss that. That's like a really important thing if people aren't doing. You see so much more on those cameras than you ever do just standing in front of the enclosures.
Yeah, I sit there every night and I go through all of the data from the day. And I'm like, that's how I picked up on a peach roads both times of them breeding is from the camera. So I never would have known because they won't do it while I'm there.
Yeah, definitely. Just to finish off on like the warp monitor stuff, we'd spoke about it a little bit before. What's your thoughts on crossing these localities to get these morphs and all that sort of stuff? I know that's a hot topic with Mike's monitors as well, so I'm sure they might want to chime in.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. And you were saying they do it a lot over there too. It seems like they're dabbling a lot more now. I just saw a post this morning about, oh man, if anything has this locality in it, it's so much nicer. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. It's like, we don't need to cross these things. You could stay busy for the rest of your life breeding pure localities, pure species. You don't need to cross them. There's no need. And then I know Mike understands, and a lot of people over here are having a problem with coming eye. It's like these guys bred these to Samarensis and all that stuff. And now I'm almost about to get completely out of coming eye because I don't even know if my stuff's pure anymore. Because like you have guys that are putting these 25% in Samarensis, and like, how are you supposed to see 25%? Sure, you could pick up on little things, but it's so hard. It's like, I don't want to be a part of pushing that forward. So I think I'm going to take a step back from things like coming eye for now.
Yeah. Could be a bit of a mess with these watermen. Like I said, they're doing it a lot over here. Luckily, they can't really export the guys that are doing it over here. Like I said, they're just trying to get the coolest looking things. They do these competitions over here where they like to show them off rather than breed them. But that's good to hear that not everyone is crossing them over there as well.
And that's the thing is like that's even better. Like it sounds crazy, but if you're breeding those things just to show them off and there's no future, like that's a deadline, then that's one thing. But these guys are doing it to chase money. And then they want to breed them again. And then by a couple generations, you don't even know what you have. First generation, you barely know what you have. And then 3 deep, you're like, what is this thing? So.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to tell a Samarensis cross coming eye myself. I haven't seen that many pure Samarensis, to be honest. So I'm pretty shocked that they're even around to breed into the coming eye.
Yeah, and I think it's so far. I think it goes back farther than we know here that we can't even pick out a pure coming eye. That's what scares me. I mean, Mike's are pure, but besides that line, then it's kind of scary because I look at mine and I'm like, man, now I see these Samarensis. I'm like, mine might be half Samarensis. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It makes me want to step back for a while and just work with stuff like we were talking about that I know what it is because it came in that way and it's pretty easy to tell.
Excellent. Just got a super chat off Jin. Thank you very much. No question or anything, but thank you. I think that all that goes to USARC. Which is really important. I've been involved with the USARC a lot with in the last few months with this blue tree monitor stuff going on, and had on Mike and Jin's podcast, or it was my podcast, one of the podcasts. It's really important the work that those guys are doing. Like I said, I've seen it firsthand. So yeah, if you're in the States or anywhere else, please donate to USARC. And it's the numbers things with that, trying to get as many numbers so they don't make it so easy to shut these things down and stop us keeping stuff.
It only starts there, that's for sure. Starts with the blue trees. I think Earless was on that ESA too.
They haven't been temporarily listed like the blue trees. They listed those, but yeah, they're after 240 days, I think it is. They'll and that might be the temporary listing. They want to list them anyway at the end of the day, so that's not good. And like you said, they'll start with the blue trees, and then it'll be the next ones. They'll come up with an excuse for that. So we're trying our hardest to fight that. Seems pretty silly the way that law's laid out, especially for you guys not be able to cross them in state lines
Makes
in
no
the
sense.
US is bonkers.
It's absolutely crazy. Just makes it worse. And it gives people a higher demand. There's people crazier than me and you that want these things, and they're going to do whatever they can to get them. So
Yeah.
they're creating that black market, and they don't look at it that way, though.
No. I've got Paul from the UK. I don't know if you know Paul's monitors. Thanks for tuning in, Paul. So is there anything you think can be done keeping the localities pure and stuff? I mean, I spoke to you a bit before. I don't know why people aren't, say for the coming eye, just trying to breed the more and more yellow ones. There's a big project there, or more and more golden ones. So I don't know why they've gone straight to crossing. Maybe it's just a bit easier. But like I said,
I look at it, it sounds bad, but I look at it as like a laziness thing. Like I think a lot of people get a male or something like that, and they can't find a female, so they just pick any female. And I saw that recently with a guy. He had a black dragon breed into a guru, and it's like, dude, that defeats both. It's like, what is the point of that? Like, I could almost see, like, I don't even want to say it, but I could see, like, if you had an albino of something and bred it to a guru, and even that, you're breeding a Salvatore to a Salvatore, but they're totally different. So I don't justify that either, but it almost makes sense because you want to make more patterns and bring more emphasis to certain things. But to breed a black dragon to a guru, you're just eliminating both cool things. So
that guru line is really cool as well. Really sort of high contrast and stuff.
Yeah, I have a pair I just paired last night actually for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I raised them. They were this big when I got them, so it's cool. I love those kind of breedings. That you raise them for the 2 years or 3 years, and then you finally get to do it. That's a lot of stuff that I'm coming into now. It's stuff that I've just been raising. So
excellent. Yeah, that's the best way for sure. So should we? We've got a few people listening now. Do you want to get into the peach throat stuff, or do you want to get into anything else?
I'm fine with peach throats.
Yeah, I mean, peach throats, that's amazing success. Do you want to just go into what sort of success you've had lately and that project?
Thank you. Sure. I got a clutch about 8 months ago. It just hatched recently. They're about 4 weeks old. I'm actually shipping them out this upcoming week. They're going to their new homes, but it blew my mind. It's something that's a monitor that I've always like been enthralled with and really liked. And then I saw this female at a show, and I'm like, man, she is the craziest one I've ever seen. So I grabbed her. She was a hatchling, and I've just been raising her. And she actually, I was breeding Kamini when I got her, but I didn't think I'd actually breed them. It was just kind of like a dream. So I got her, and she laid her first infertile clutch. I'm like, wow, I can't believe like she finally laid. So I'm like, let me try to find a male. A lot easier said than done. That took me about 2 years to find a male. And the first male I got, crazy enough, she actually grabbed him and WWE style took him off the top ledge. And he lived, but it wasn't pretty. So I was like, this is going to be a lot harder than water monitors. That kind of like snapped me into it. And I was like, I went through 4 or 5 males before I found one. And the one that I got now, I saw him on MORPH market, and he was just absolutely massive. And I'm like, I think he's going to be the one to do it. And with them, just like we were talking about, I was super, super specific. That's why it took so long. It's like I didn't want to get some random peach throat, even a different locality, and pair to her. I'm like, here's an animal that I picked because it's one of the prettiest I've ever seen. I don't want to just throw anything at it. So this male actually ended up being prettier than her. He is crazy, and he's huge. He's like probably 3.5, 4 feet. And I think she needed that because of how aggressive she is. She's only 2 foot, and she's like a little Tasmanian devil. She's crazy. But I think she needed that male, and I had them together for like 4 months before I saw anything. And like I said, one day I was looking at the cameras, and I saw him doing his twitching thing and walking up to her, and I'm like, holy crap, this might actually happen. By the end of that day, he had her locked multiple times. So that was the start of all of it. And I mean, I forgot to mention before that, besides that first infertile clutch, she laid 4 more for me throughout this time. So
that's when you didn't have the male at all. That she was just cycling and learning fertile.
When I kept trying to throw these males at her, and she was not having it. It's so funny because with her, I guess with breeding other monitors, you see, like they'll tell you everything. They can't talk, but if you watch them, instantly she would tell me like, this male's not it. And I would pull them out. And with that one, she kind of like gave in. They didn't breed right away because he was scared, but she didn't go after him either. So I'm like, I got some hope here. And then she laid that first clutch, and it took me 8 months to get them breeding again. So recently, she's gravid right now, after all that. But with them, like I said, like we were saying before, a wooden monitor, like you could get them breeding, and then she'll lay her eggs. 3 weeks later, you get them breeding again. It's kind of hard to shut them off. Where with the Indicus, for me, it seems like it's hard to get them to turn on. So it was a struggle, but I'm happy that I got them going again because I feel like they really need it, and they are the prettiest babies I've ever had, hands down. They're so cool.
So have you sold all the babies?
Yeah. I mean, they were sold before. I never do this. I never take deposits before, but people were begging me. So I was like, you know what? If you want it, if they don't hatch for some reason, I'll just give it back. But they'll lock you in. They were sold before they hatched.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I'd be selling them. I think I'll be keeping my ones for sure. That was pretty crazy. But I think I've seen it on your Instagram. I'll just bring your Instagram up, actually, mate. We might be able to see some of the babies on there.
Literally.
So, do you have any idea what locality these are?
I was told they're Jayapura. That's what I was told.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, for sure. Which are some of the nicest ones. They got the nice banding and stuff on them. That's really good that you've kept them pure as well, because that takes a lot of effort, not just to chuck them in with something else. And very likely that's a complex of a few different species.
And that's the thing is, like, I was tempted many times to just grab this big male Solomon Island or whatever was around, and I was like, you know what, I'm not doing it. I want to stay pure with these. She's so cool that you have the temptation with anything, but it's just a matter of if you're going to go ahead with it. And I just waited, and I'm happy I did.
Yeah, don't get much better than that with the proper peach throat and the really blue tail that you get with the Jayapura animals. So anyone listening on the audio, I suggest you go onto YouTube and have a look at some of these amazing babies that Nick has produced.
Thank you.
So were you keeping them together all the time, Nick, or were you waiting to see when she was cycling and putting them together?
In the beginning, I was, just because I kind of figured I had to get something going. I couldn't keep pulling him because he was kind of spastic in the beginning. Now he's so laid back. I just posted a picture of him last night, and he just hangs out. But when I first got him, he was not that way. So I left them together just for that reason. But now, like, he's separate from her because she's gravid and going to lay. So I'll leave him away from her for about a month and then try again. I kind of, it's just like anything. It's hard to explain, but I watch behaviors, and she kind of tells me when she's ready. Like when she's full and looking healthy, and I can see that cycle starting, then I'll introduce him. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes she laid, I think it was 2 infertile clutches in between before because he just wasn't breeding. And I haven't honed in and figured out why that is yet. But I mean, she was in full cycle and he just had no desire. I think honestly, it had a little something to do with me feeding him too much. And that's, again, something I'm used to with water monitors. I just think he was too fat and lazy to do anything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they do. They pack on the weight, the Indicus type stuff really, really easy and don't lose it, like some of your water monitors. How have you got them set up? So talk me through your sort of breeding enclosure for the peach throats.
Yeah. So my male enclosure, I give him kind of, again, to try to burn off some of that weight. I give him a pretty massive enclosure. I give him an 8x6x8 for when he's by himself, and it's floor to ceiling. So he gets that big gradient. But when they're together, she's always done well in a smaller enclosure. So it's like 6x4x8, and that's their breeding enclosure. It's pretty tight, but it's worked so far.
Nice. And what sort of heating and lighting have you got in there?
I have 2 Power Suns and then T5s on there too. So they have that basking isn't as high. I give them that 120, more like 115. It's lower than the water monitors, but they have that gradient to go up and down. And the only thing I might change with them that because of Uncle Mike, I've kind of been turned on to the whole enclosure nesting instead of the lay box. She did great with the lay box. Her lay box is, my dad and I were cutting down trees, and I took a stump and I cut a 3-foot stump and then built a nest box on top of that. So it wasn't on the ground. It's 3 feet off the ground. And she seemed to like that, kind of like a tree hollow. But I think I'm going to change it and do whole cage nesting. It just gives her more options. And I feel like she always goes to the same spot, but she doesn't have a giant variety of spots that she can go to. It's really kind of one spot she can go to. So.
Right. How do you plan on heating the if you're going to do whole cage nesting? Going to put some sort of element in there, or you think it'll be enough for the Power Suns?
I have I use cane heat mats, And the ones I have now are like, I think they're like 16 by 16, something like that. I just got my first 4-foot one, and I used it for actually Solomon Island spinnies, and I just used it for them, and it worked great. They love it. That's a big project that I'm trying to do. That is kind of no information out there, so it's kind of like a shot in the dark. So I gave them a tree hollow kind of nest box where they can go out of the enclosure, and I gave them all ground nesting too, and it worked great. I did like a 4-foot dam of dirt and soil, and they can dig towards that. And the female has been nonstop. She's actually cycling right now, but I'm going through that same problem. Yeah, my spinny, she's as big as a house. I don't like to talk about it and on social media and stuff because then I feel like I jinx myself. But but she's cycling right now, and I actually have 2 males with her.
Okay.
That's I've never tried that before, but I bought this trio from Ryan McVeigh from VivTech, and it kind of makes sense. He was saying that in the wild. Sorry, I went completely off topic, but
no, you're good.
In the wild, like in that island, I mean, think of monkey tails. They kind of live in like this community, and they're the weirdest thing. The Solomons, they kind of live in a community as well. Like I see them doing different behaviors that I've never seen in another monitor before. And from something that I kind of liked after getting them, I'm becoming obsessed with them because they're so different. And each male will kind of like court her, and like she's like staying away from them. But honestly, I have this huge male, and she's leaning more towards this little male. So I think it's going to happen if it hasn't already, because they go into court tubes and they'll sit on top of each other. So I can't really see on the cameras what's going on, but she's huge. So with that enclosure, I did that 4-foot dam with the 4-foot cane heat mat, and it worked perfect. So I think I'm going to do that with a lot of the Indicus stuff. I did it with the Oore already, and I think I'm going to do it with the peach throats and the quints too, just to give them so much space that I don't have to deal with the problem of being egg bound or anything like that, because that's been a complication in the past. And like we were saying before, it's just like sometimes it's not us. Sometimes you give them everything they need, and they've used it a bunch of times, and then for some reason they just don't want to. And I don't want to have that dilemma anymore. So I'm trying to give them over the top nesting.
Yeah. I mean, they're so particular, and like we're saying in the green room, it's they can go well for so many months or even years, and then all of a sudden they switch up and never nest where they nested before. Just going back to the peach throats, how did you incubate them? How long did it take? What sort of medium are you using?
I did them in swim containers, so just over water. Some people will do like the water crystals and stuff like that, but I've heard nightmares. I've always done just over water, and it worked great. And they were 152 days, something like that. And it was at 86 degrees.
Nice.
Yeah. The first one came out a little small. It didn't really absorb right. And I don't think he was ready to hatch. And we ended up losing him, unfortunately. But the other 3 were great. They hatched maybe like 5 days later, fully absorbed, ready to go. And they scared me because with the Indicus, I mean, with the quints, they were, it was fastball. It was faster than I was expecting. But with the Melanus, they came out like, I don't know. I don't want to say weak, but a little more fragile, and they wouldn't eat right away. But the peach throats, they are savages. They were eating right out of the gate. So
they'll smash everything. Yeah, even the ones we got here, it's quite surprising. They're pretty tiny when they come out, and they eat everything really savage considering how shy they can be. But when you put some food in there, they go nuts.
Yeah, I use Mike's socialization caging thing with the cork tube up top over water. It works awesome for them. They're funny because he has the little holes in the cork tube. That's how he does it. So you can monitor them inside of the cork tube, and they stick their little heads out and they watch it, but they won't come fully out because they are really shy. But they'll stick their heads out and watch it. And I just put dubia in the hole and they'll come grab them. But they're awesome. Between the Melanus and the peach throats, totally opened my eyes and changed my whole keeping, because I was mostly a big water monitor guy, and they totally changed my route to like where I have less water monitors than I do Indicus now.
Excellent. Yeah, they're very unique. They're becoming actually some of my favorite species, the Indicus types. Obviously, I get to work with so many of them now. But they've all got their all sort of little niches and little activities and stuff that they do, even between the species. They're really good. The quints are super underrated. I think more people need to show them off. We got some crazy, like bright yellow ones. And again, all the Indicus stuff doesn't seem, even compared to the tree monitors, it's like non-aggressive. That's the biggest surprise I found. Like I was saying to you before, you can sort of grab an Oore or even a quince like halfway down the body, and it won't even swing around and bite you. Whereas if it was a tree monitor, as soon as you just grab hold of them, they go around and bite, which is a real good thing they got going for them.
Yeah, it's like their first reaction to a lot of stuff, and those, like, I've never even seen one open their mouth. Like I grab them mid body, and they just like look at me, and they never try to bite. They just squirm and stuff, but I love them.
Yeah, they're squirmy, but not like they just uninclined to bite. We got some of the K Indicus here, and that you literally, I've got a video of me poking one in the face, showing a customer like that they literally won't bite.
Yeah,
they annoy them as much as you can. So they're excellent.
Yeah, and my quints, at least, I mean, all the ones that I've worked are super personable. Where the peach throats, like, they're more like, leave me alone. But they will come out to you. The quints will come literally barreling out of the cage, come sit on my lap. They're very like calm. They're really cool. It's a good for people that don't want to keep an 8-foot water monitor. It's a great a monitor to keep for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the other species? You've listed off quite a few. Do you want to go through the whole list of the stuff you keep, and maybe we can dive into a few of them?
Yeah, I got to literally go by cage because I can't even think. But I have black dragons. I have gurus. I have Varanus ornatus, the Niles, which is something. I've been raising them from babies, so I'm on the cusp of being able to breed those.
Excellent. That's a really underrated monitor.
Yeah,
I used to have one. I mean, that back in the early 2000s, but they seem to stop coming into the UK so much. The ornate ones.
Yeah.
But I think they're definitely different to the normal Niles. I don't know if you've ever kept both species, but they seem completely different.
Yeah, they're very big and bulky, and they are gold. They are not afraid to whip you, chase you. They have an attitude on them, but. It's that I like that. That's part of the fun of keeping a monitor.
That'd be excellent to get some captive bred ones.
Yeah. They haven't had it for sure, but I like the ornatus because they have like that guru patterning. They have that huge constellations on their back. They're very cool, very underrated.
Excellent. Sorry, I cut you off in your list. So we got to ornate monitors.
Yeah, I have ornatus. Then I have the gurus, the coming eye. I have Jobiensis, Melanist, the Spinnies. I have Oore. I have one turquoise male that I'm trying to track down a female. I think that's it. I'm sure I'm missing something. I have albinos and xanthics and all kinds of different, the MORPH of the Salvatore, but again, that's something that I think I'm trying to steer clear of because I've noticed a lot, just like with the inbreeding of like people crossing stuff. I think people are inbreeding a lot of these morphs, and I think we're finally catching up to us over here. And I think we're seeing a lot of defects and problems with all this inbreeding. I've seen it a lot with Uncle Mike's got me, and Lanthanotus too. I have Spinosaurus too. I mean, I have a bunch of other stuff that's not actually branded, but I have like frilled dragons, sailfin dragons. I still have agammets of like where I started, but it's not anywhere near how many monitors I have.
But you're most excited about the Indicus stuff. Do you want to talk about how you found the Oore? Because not many people work with Oore.
It's something that I saw at a show out here once, and I fell in love with them. But it was like one of those things I couldn't get, and it was one of those ones that honestly didn't look the greatest. So I said, when I work up the money and I can get one, I want to get them. So I put it on Facebook looking for Oore, and a guy in Florida was like, I have 3, and I'm like, what is the chances of that? Like same day. So I saved up the money and got them. I had to pay an arm and a leg to get them because honestly, I don't know of any other in the country like group wise like that. So
I think they might be the ones you've got actually. I think Stephen Cush had some that he kept, but they might be the same ones that you've got now. I think sold them.
I think his were different. He had those the different locality. They were all males too. And Chris Foley and Desiree had those. They were lighter colored ones. These are the ones that are like all black with just a red. I don't know what locality it is, but they're almost solid black.
Have they got any speckling on the back of them? They black with like the speckling? No, they're just the normal.
Solid. In the right lighting, I say black, but it almost looks like a dark green. It's it's not like fully black like a black dragon, but it looks that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to do a bit more work. Some of the ones we've had that look like that have developed into those bigger, darker ones with the speckling on the back, and then we've got some that are bred that are like the small ones, which are like a pretty boring black colour. I mean, I love them; they're one of my favourite species. But with the red noses, but even some of them, the noses have started to whiten up a little bit as they get older. Do you know how old your ones are?
I have no idea. The thing that I didn't know about them until I got them was that white banding that they have on their throat. That's pretty crazy. I had no idea because you never really see underneath. You always see the side pictures of them.
Yeah.
I was like mind blown. I still love them, but the thing with them is you never see them. They're always in cork tubes. They're always hiding there. They seem very, very skittish, and it might just be. I mean, first generation, they're probably never see people. Like I'm sure you see it over there. They probably haven't seen many people in their life, so. Hopefully they come out eventually, and I'm able to breed them. But I think it's going to be a long road with those.
Yeah, they seem a bit tricky. Like we were saying, a lot of this Indicus stuff doesn't seem to cycle as regularly as like your water monitors and even your tree monitors. You can get them going, but they seem a bit more sporadic.
Yeah.
Even what's your method been for trying to get stuff to cycle? Is it the same with your water monitors with food and stuff, or have you tried to change any of the parameters around?
With like the peach throats and the quince stuff that I've had for like since babies, it seems like I can get them to turn on and off with food. But not as like easily as a water monitor. Like water monitors, I could turn it on and off. It seems like I have a remote and I could hit it and turn it on and off. But with those, it's like I know generally what to do, but I definitely am not honed in to figure out 100%. I think a lot to do with them and why I've had some success is because I let it get a lot cooler. And I told a lot of people that I let like the ground temperatures of my enclosure, they'll get down to 70 or even maybe a little lower. But that's just because of, where I am. We have a foot of snow outside today. So,
oh, wow.
It's not something that I'm purposely doing. It's something that I'm using to my advantage that I have. And I think that's why I've had success because then now we're going into spring. So like last week it was 70 degrees here and it was very humid. And now we're going back into that cold front. But before that, it was really cold. And that's when I caught them breeding actually was in that cold front. They were breeding on the ground and it was probably 68 degrees. And then now we're coming up and she's going to lay just like everything else lays in spring. I think that seasonal change is helping me with that. I don't think it's a lot that I'm doing. I just think I'm taking advantage of what's happening.
Yeah. And have you got them set up the same as your peat strokes, the ovals?
Yeah, the old boards are the same. It's just like I said before, they have the whole nesting on the bottom. That's about 4 foot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, probably like 3 foot realistically, because my window's 3 foot off the ground, and then the ground level goes right out from the window. So it goes out and up because I try to keep it all towards the back in case I want like a really deep laying area. It's probably overkill. Like I said, I don't think they need 4 feet because it seems like a lot of the Indicus lay almost like top level. They don't really dig like a water monitor, at least in my experience. They kind of go like a foot down maybe and lay their eggs. Water monitors will go as far as you give them.
Yeah. I was saying that clutch you had off that Jarvan one. I couldn't believe how deep that had gone. And, and like I said, she was one that was given to us by one of the locals. Looked pretty rough, and she made a huge tunnel down in some pretty rubbish substrate. And they're definitely a lot more less picky than this Indicus type stuff.
Yeah. Whatever you give them, they'll use. But sometimes I think that's not the best either, though, because I think they hold them a lot longer than they should because they will use whatever, but they'll hold them until they're like, all right, I got to get rid of these things. Where Indicus, they'll just hold them forever. If they're not happy, they're not going to let them go. So.
Yeah. Using any big water sections for the Indicus stuff, like your peat strokes or anything like that, like you do with the water monitors?
Yeah, honestly, I have them almost set up the same. And they use it. They love water, which is something that I feel like a lot of people don't know and don't realize. But melanists are in the water just as much as my usual water monitors are. The peach strokes not so much, but they will use it. A big thing with them that I've been doing recently is that I don't think a lot of people do enough of is giving them enough humidity. And we talked about this a little bit before, but I spray all of my enclosures daily. I have huge water tubs and everything. I keep my humidity in my entire facility at like 80%. And I think that's huge. I was talking about this with Dr. Stoll. I'm actually going to do a video on it about how essential humidity is. and you don't really think about it. Everybody talks about gout and stuff like that, and they think it's like more of a diet-driven thing. But what he was saying is, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, Dr. Stahl, if you're watching, but I'm trying to translate it in the way that I understood. But he said that he thinks a lot of it has to do with how they're breathing in water and they're taking it into because they breathe in a lot of water and they take it in that way besides drinking. So he thinks that the kidneys aren't able to filter all these proteins because they're carnivores. They're only taking in proteins. They're not really getting a difference in diet like we do. They're only taking in these proteins. So these proteins get built up in their kidneys and they're not able to filter it fully. And that's when it backs up and it gives them gout. So it totally changed my whole keeping when he told me that, because no one's ever said it to me like that. They're always like, oh, no, you can't feed a lot of heavy protein in your diet, but it's like that's all they eat. So it's like, how do you change that? And that made so much more sense to me. So I've changed my whole way of keeping, and I give everything as much water, access to water that I can. So.
Are you using any misting systems, or do you use hand spraying or anything like that, or just relying on the humidity?
My wife does this with me, and first thing she does every time, she goes and soaks everything, and by the time we come back, either that night or the next day, everything's dry already. It's so hot in there that it dries up like that. You just don't want it dry. Like like you were saying, even the Kims and the Pilbaras were almost humid. And I don't think when you said that to me, it blows my mind, because I always kept Pilbaras and Kims super dry.
Oh yeah, they will have a dry period. The Pilbara especially, but I've been in the Pilbara where it's been a foot of water on the floor. It floods there pretty regularly, especially when cyclones and stuff go through, and then all that obviously evaporates off. And the Kimberleys are definitely way more humid because they're a bit further up, getting towards Darwin, and it's really humid up there for 6 months of the year. So yeah, that's really interesting that the vet told you that.
I think that's something that we're missing, and I think that's what worries me, because you see a lot of people online, especially here, that have these giant water monitors in their living room and stuff like that. It's like there's no way your living room is that humid. You need an enclosure or a facility that has that ambient temperature and ambient humidity. A couch in your living room isn't going to cut it, and I think that's huge for keeping these things. It requires. I think that's what's hard. I mean, any reptile has their own care requirements, like the chameleon, stuff like that. They need a lot of humidity. They need a lot of attention. Like I was spraying my chameleons 3 times a day. Besides the misting system, they're a lot of work, but monitors are a lot of work too, just in a different way. And I feel like people think they're easier, and they are to an extent, but there is a lot of work there too.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to the diet, what diet were you using for the peat throats?
So for the peat throats, they eat a lot of dubia. They love dubia. They go nuts for insects. But I do a lot of birds too. They go crazy for quail. I try not to give rodents to them unless I have to, for like a gravid female or something like that. Just trying to get a lot of weight on her. But I think that's, again, even not doing that, I think that's where I came to complications with the male, because trying to feed a female without a male attacking you is always a complication.
Yeah. Like I said, I tried to keep everything as separate as I can and just rely on. I do a lot of ultrasound in here because we have so many animals, and rely on that as much as I can. Just because, the males will just bully the females. The tree monitor's the worst for it. The female will go up and show the male the food you've just given it, and he'll grab up with her, and it's just a nightmare.
That's the worst. It drives me crazy when they literally go towards them. I'm like, no.
Look what I've got.
Yeah. So I try to feed the male first, or get the males out of the enclosure to come out of it. That's why I think they're so social too, because that going out of that window means they're going to get fed. So I lure them out. They come out, sit on the floor and eat while I feed the female, because they only get like 1 or 2 birds where like my female will get as much as she can take, unless she's about to lay. Then I try to lay off the food, because I've had complications with that too. Just feeding too much when she's about to lay. Kind of
what sort of complications did you run into, if you don't mind talking about them?
I talk about it with Mike all the time too. It's just I think when I fed too much getting close to laying, it kind of there's only so much space in there. So you're blocking her processing those eggs. And so when she's getting close, and you could tell their hips really sink in, she starts getting a little more like dragging her. She doesn't really like run about like she normally does. they kind of go into like a trance. I'm like, all right, you're only getting one bird today. Or if they're within a couple of days, I'm like, you gotta wait till you lay, and then I'll just power feed them after. But
yeah.
I try to feed them very minimally when they're that grabbed, because especially my peach throat. Like if I posted a picture, people would be like, "Oh my god!" Like it's almost disturbing how big she is. So I don't want it to be worse.
Yeah, definitely. And when you ultrasound them, you can see how far the eggs go up actually into the body cavity, and it's putting pressure on the lungs and all sorts when you can see it on there. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I have a picture of my Alice, and it's literally all the way up to her heart. It's just 9 eggs, completely her whole cavity, and it's like it blows my mind that they can even do that.
Yeah, how they're even walking around and still being able to do anything is just madness. Nicaras, you didn't say you had Nicaras. They're a very cool monitor.
I don't know how I forgot them. My favorite, literally, they're my favorite monitor amongst everything. And along with everything, along with them being my favorite, they've given me the biggest heartache and the biggest complications. I've bred probably 3 different pairs and still have gotten no eggs. So they kill me. But
right.
I think I'll get it eventually. It's just they're a very aggressive species. They're totally different than your normal water monitor. They breed very aggressive. Their food response is very aggressive. So it's a different kind of thing to work with. But my complication has just been with females not wanting to let go of eggs, and me getting females that are very old, because we can't get any more. I mean, the females that were here have been here for, I don't know, probably like close to 10 years now. So I'm dealing with these old specimens that are probably past that time of laying these eggs. So I wish I could get a group of babies and start from the beginning, but I don't think that's going to be possible for a long time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like I said, we're not allowed to work with them over here because they're obviously from the Philippines. So I'd love to. They look amazing.
Yeah, and everyone's so different. Like I have 5 males, and there's not one that looks remotely the same. So there's so much variation there. And I talked to Dr. Spracklin about this. I think I'm sending him pictures and skin samples, because I think there's something going on there where there's either there should be different localities named or different subspecies or something, because even the scalation is different on some of them. So we'll see what he has to say. I haven't sent them yet, but just trying to get enough skin samples to be able to send them.
Yeah, he'll put them to good use for sure. He's got a lot of work. I keep giving him loads of work to do from my end. So he's a really cool guy.
Really cool guy. It's just crazy because you read these guys' books and talk to them, and like think about talking to them when you're a kid, and then be able to work with them like that. It just blows my mind every time.
Yeah, it's insane. He's like a proper celebrity. That book was so popular when obviously we were a lot younger. So, and he's, like I said, super humble and very thankful. So he's very good. And he's got a lot of work to do. I can't wait for his book to come out. He's got a book coming out, hopefully maybe this year or next year, early next year. I think that's going to be like the Bible, I think, for us monitors.
Definitely. I can't
wait. So going back to the Spinulosis, I just want to talk about a little bit more about them, because there's another one I can't keep. You said they're a lot different. In what way have you found them different to the other monitors you've kept?
So I don't know how true this is, but somebody told me that they're the oldest living monitor. I don't know if that's true, but their behaviors are so weird. They act like very social with each other. They're very just like any of the other Indicus. They're very social with you. Like you can grab them mid body and they don't really try to bite either. So I think they have a bad reputation for being like this. And I think it's that beady black eye that scares people. That they have like this bad reputation of being like this evil little monitor, but they're so freaking cool. I'm just trying to think of some of the behaviors that they've been doing. There's so much. It's just like little stuff that I pick up on, just like the way they act and the way they just act with each other. That it's been so different.
And you're keeping two males with 1 female, did you say?
Yeah.
That's pretty insane for monitors.
Yeah,
I don't think of any that I've been able to do that with.
No, and they were supposedly raised together, but I see the males like laying together, basking. Like they have no problem or like social hierarchy. Like, hey, get away from me. They kind of all just live in harmony, which blows my mind. Especially if they're breeding. Supposedly they were breeding beforehand. They came from a zoo at one point, and supposedly they were both breeding the female at the same time, which is kind of crazy. So we'll see. They got eggs, but supposedly one of the males ate them, and then. So
I could see that might be an issue with the two males in there. I mean, males are pretty pretty bad at eating eggs with all monitors, especially if they're not nested properly. I'd be
Raise
interested to
it.
see how the nesting goes with them. I think you
Yeah.
probably crack it with the all cage nesting.
Yeah, she was smart though. As soon as I set up that whole cage nesting, I told the story to Uncle Mike. This is one of the things that kind of blew my mind that I just remembered. But she was up top basking with the two males, and I took off a whole side of the enclosure to try to do this whole lay box on the bottom. And I had about 2 feet of dirt in, and I was just putting the heat pad in the back. So I was pulling back the back layer to put the heat pad in. So I was digging by hand, just throwing the dirt to the other side. And all of a sudden, my wife she goes, watch, she's coming. And she ran down the tree, straight down a vertical tree. And she came up to me and was like mock bluffing me, like stomping the ground. And I was like, uh-oh. So she was stomping the ground in front of me. And she didn't like that I was digging in this lay box that I just set up for her maybe a day ago. So she already like picked her spot and said, don't touch my area. She didn't come up to me and like try to bite me or do anything. She was just mock like displaying like, I will bite you if I have to. And then she ran back up the tree. But I've never seen anything like that besides with a croc monitor. I had a croc monitor that bluff charged me a couple times. And they reminded me of that, which is funny because they look very similar, but just a lot smaller.
They do. They're I've only ever seen pictures. I haven't actually ever seen one in the flesh. Their skin looks very weird. Do they feel any different?
Yeah, it's totally different. And they don't have like a scalation. They have like a row of scales, and it's almost like velvety, and it has like a weird sheen to it. Physically, they're a lot different than your other monitor. And like, I don't know, water beads off of any monitor, but you spray them and it just goes right off. Like they seem like they live in a very humid, rainy environment. So that's what we've been giving them. So
how big are they? You said the male was quite large. How big are they?
The male, I would say, is probably like 3.5. The biggest one's probably like 3.5 feet, which is something over here you don't see. You only see like these little guys that come in and boarded. I mean, that's what I've always seen. So to see them at this size, they have like a rustic orange head, and then it goes to like brown and then black and yellow is their whole back. But they're very fast too. Probably the fastest monitor I've worked with. They'll scale a tree and you don't even see them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're really interesting. Everything about them is interesting. And I could sit there and they're one of those species I could just sit there and watch because they're just so different.
Yeah, they seem very unique. What diet are you using for those guys?
A lot of birds with them too, but they go crazy. I'll take a bowl of dubia and I'll just hold it in there, and all three of them will come to the bowl and eat out of my hand.
Excellent. Yeah, very unique. Yeah, I'm gutted I can't work with them, but I do have enough other things to work with.
You're over there.
Yeah. Is there anything you can think of that you'd like to work with next, or anything you're most exciting to get breeding next?
The Oore this year, the Oore is huge for me. I could see the spinnies being in the future too. As long as with all that stuff, it's like I don't know. With the water monitors, you can kind of set them up and watch them, but like if you're working with something like the spinnies or the Oore, like that's your whole attention for right now. Like you're caring for everything else, but you need to fully pick up on every little cue that they're giving you to try to get it going. Especially with no information. Like there's no information out there on how to breed spinnies, so I'm trying to pick up on anything that they're giving me, and that takes a lot of work. I mean, and I work 2 other jobs, so besides me seeing that in person, I got to check the cameras and go back and see any cues that they're giving me. Like maybe I got to move this male, or maybe I got to take this male out. Like honestly, with them, I tried something weird. Like I told you, I was keeping 2 males and 1 female. I thought since they grew up together, I've been starting to get this idea of like maybe they just are so accustomed to her being there that they're not going to breed. So I pulled the 2 males while she's in mid-cycle, which is kind of not what you're supposed to do, but I've been watching the cameras and they're not doing anything. So they're doing like weird little courting things, but nothing serious. So I pulled the 2 males for the weekend, and I have a young male that she's never seen, and I put him in there. And I mean, normally that's like a whole thing that's like a process that you can't just throw a male in with a female and they start fighting. But that's another reason why I think they're almost communal is she could care less when I put him in there. But I'm hoping that he picks up on her pheromones and either does something, or the break between the 2 males being by themselves when I introduce them next week will spark it again. But I'm hoping, because I've never even seen one. Like people look at spinnies and they think they're like this skinny tree monitor, that like a normal tree monitor. Like they don't have a lot of weight to them. They're very, very like stocky monitor. They're very different than your average person thinks. Like I know me personally, I always like thought of them as like a little scrawny monitor, but they're almost
Yeah,
like
that's what I was
they're
about to
almost like
say.
little
Yeah,
tree bulldogs. They're pretty crazy.
yeah, they got really interesting heads, a bit like the rudicollis as well, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah, just
Yeah,
like
bird-like.
yeah, they're very very hard to sex. Probably the hardest monitor I've ever tried to sex. It's just like a slight difference in like nose structure, and obviously their
Okay.
tail base, but visually
Yeah,
looking at them, I got to look at them for like 10 minutes each time to figure out which one's the female. Now it's a
interesting.
little easier because she's cycling, but um, before then I was like trying to keep a mental note. The males have more of like a duck bill, where the females are
Right.
like blunt. Um, but
Yeah, sounds a lot like I was telling you the UO. Do you work with UO9, Nick, or not? Not
no,
yet.
I don't. I don't have any.
Keep away from me.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's why I don't. I heard they're a
Yeah,
little bit of a psychopath, so I've been trying
yeah.
to.
I mean,
My friend has a bunch of them, and he tells me all kinds of stories. So I'm like, yeah, I think I'll wait on those.
I think the captured red ones are going to be amazing, but
Oh,
yeah, these wild caught ones are not good.
yeah,
Yeah, they're super defensive. I wouldn't want to call them aggressive because they will run away from you, but they're one that if they feel cornered at all, they will they'll have a go at you. But they're really beautiful and again really unique.
yeah, oh, totally unique. But they scare me. They're kind of like a blue tail where they could pack a punch. So
Oh yeah, the teeth are no joke. I mean, they're literally. Me and my friend talk about them a lot, and they're literally just like a Dorianus restaurant.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
Do you work with the Solomon Island mangroves? I got a question. I don't know if you actually work with them or not.
I don't have any. I don't have any mangroves right now. It's something I want to
Uh,
get into because there's so many different localities and so much cool stuff to do with mangroves, but not right now. I have my hands full at the moment.
Excellent. That was a question from Python Department. I can't work with them because obviously if they're from the Solomons and I'm in Indonesia. I think there's a guy called Matthew Dove who works with them quite often. I'll try and get him on one of the shows because I know he's done some really good work with them and hopefully he can answer that question for you.
Kai Fan too. He has a bunch of different localities.
I'm glad
never-
to see Clay actually posting today because I heard he had some problems with illness and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did a bit of a joke with some what they were called in Dwyer. I don't know what they're called now. Varanus,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're super cool. Those ones.
Yeah, it's cool to see him back because he has a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
He just doesn't post a lot.
Yeah. I was getting a bit worried. Like he hadn't posted anything for a while, and he seems like a really cool dude.
He is a really cool dude.
I get him on as well. Just going back to your Instagram, mate. You do that looks fantastic. Do you want to just go through that? Yeah. So you do a bit of vending. It looks like.
Mm-hmm. So that's in Tinley Park. That's like mid United States. It's in Chicago, and Uncle Mike was nice enough to let me have his table at that show. That's one of the biggest shows in the country. I'd say that's like the Super Bowl of shows out here. So he's got some big boots to fill. So I had to go crazy with the display and try to fill those shoes. And that was what I built. It was two trees that I chopped in half and kind of made it look like these vines were holding the whole thing up. And a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's still, I think, has won awards and stuff. His ones are just amazing. But yeah, it looks like you were taking the reins on there and maybe challenging him with his plays. So it looks excellent. What sort of stuff did you have for sale at Tinley? Was it mainly
in that middle cage? I had a Melanus, and then the other ones I had Xanthic Black Dragons, which is something that I think could be. They're both Salvatore, and I think they could be very interesting in the future of what could happen there. But I don't want to dabble in a lot of pets. It was just something that I was doing at the time.
Okay.
Then I had Black Dragons, and then my friend works with a lot of agamids, and he had like Calotes Pethiagodai and stuff like that too. He was actually the first person in the United States to breed the Pethies, but we had a good selection there. It was fun.
Yeah, it looks very cool. I've got another picture of it I can bring up. Is that a different show?
Yeah, that's my local show out here. That's just like a quick setup when I don't feel like bringing my whole trailer and everything.
Yeah, still looks smart though with your banner and everything.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy vending? Is that something? It's not a very big thing in the UK.
Yeah, it was something like when I was a child. Like I wanted to do all of these shows and stuff because social media wasn't as big as it was. So like to do something, you had this big table at a show and everybody came and saw you, and that's how you pushed forward in your business or your career and stuff, was to do these big shows. And I think that's almost becoming a thing of the past, especially with things like MORPH Market and stuff like that. But I'll always do Tinley Park and the big shows, but I'm not a big fan of vending. There's a lot of stress behind it, a lot of setup, and it's a lot of stress on the animals too. I'd rather shipping is a lot of stress on the animals too, but it's only for 24 hours. Some of these shows are like 4 or 5 days straight, so it's a lot.
Just go through some more of this Instagram, mate. I've got some very cool stuff, and you've had some success with the lamp notice as well, by the looks of things.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. She laid 7 eggs, 5 of those which fell into the water. That was my mistake. I think she's gravid now too. There are species that likes one temperature and one temperature only, and that's 81 degrees. They don't really like to come off of that too much. So I had my land temperatures at about like 78. My mistake, because she wanted that 81, and she laid right in a log that was in the water to try to achieve that 81 degrees. So I was only able to salvage one of the eggs that was literally half submerged, and all the other ones were at the bottom of the enclosure. So I think next time I got it figured out now with a bunch of heat pads underneath and ceramics heating up top. So I think I got it figured out, but we'll see soon enough.
Yeah, they're really cool. I get to work with quite a few of them over here, and but yeah, some of ours sometimes they're in the water.
I saw a lot of your success with them too. That's cool, man. They're so freaking cool. It's something that I don't like really talking about, but I'm sitting here thinking about it because my hand's killing me. One actually turned and bit me the other day. Don't ever get bit by a lanthanotus.
They're like little. Well, the one I got bit by, I was packing up for a shipment a couple of months ago. It did like a proper death roll. Yeah. It wouldn't let go. It's like, really painful.
Yeah, and it's been like, I don't know, 6 days now, and my hand's still throbbing. It's still.
Oh, really? Wow. I got you good.
Yeah, it got me real good.
What have we got on here on your Instagram, mate? Is that sulfur?
Yeah, it's a Java banded sulfur. That pair was crazy because I found two specimens that were really crazy banding, but they hated each other. So it took me about 7 pairings and 7 cycles to get them to actually pair. And I only tried it once. Once I got them to lay a fertile clutch, I just let them go because I knew that they didn't like each other, and I just wanted to produce those crazy looking babies.
Yeah, that I mean, insane. For like I said, anyone listening to on the audio, check out the YouTube. That's probably one of the best ones I've ever seen, to be honest.
Thank you.
A couple of quints here, is it?
Yeah. I think that was my 3rd clutch of quints. They're so crazy. They come out. They almost look like a torch when they come out. With that
Yeah, the baby Oores actually look just like Melinus when they come out. They're crazy. Yeah, they've got the same sort of pattern on them, and they're really hard to distinguish between the 2 of them. So they're very closely related species. And like I said, where they come from is literally the next sort of island along anyway in Sanana.
That's so cool.
Yeah. You've managed to get these cycling quite often, have you, Nick?
Yeah. I had 2 females going at the same time. They seem a lot easier, and I mean, my animals they're also tame. The 2 females were like literally hand tame when I got them, and then I raised the male from a baby. So that socialization thing definitely came into play there, and definitely gave me a little bit of an advantage. So I was able to kind of jump the gun and get them to keep cycling. But they now I lost my main female, unfortunately, to being egg bound. She laid in a spot every single time. For some reason, she just didn't want to let these go. And by the time I was able to try to intervene, it was too late. So now I have a female now, and she laid a clutch for me once before, but he doesn't seem to like her as much. I actually have videos of them breeding literally yesterday. But there's something going on there where, like, I don't know. I try to figure it out with these older animals. Like, sometimes they'll breed and cycle and do all this stuff. They won't go through with laying the clutch, and like those follicles don't get big enough to even maybe be fertile. I don't know. There's something going on with these older animals where they can't lay that old, and I think she's really old. I'm trying to find younger females. I actually am supposed to be getting some this week. So.
Yeah, it's interesting when you do the ultrasound and stuff, how big the follicles can go. Like, we got some Salvador, really old Salvador. Interesting you say that as well. She gets to like 40, 45 millimeter follicles, which is a big follicle, and then she'll just reduce them all the way back down and never lay. She's done that 2 or 3 times now.
That's so
she's really old. She's a good 10 years old. It's one of the older ones we got here.
especially to get that big and then go all the way back down. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's like, no.
I think you saying that's exactly what I'm going through with the Melanus.
Yeah.
I think it's time to maybe retire her and let her live the rest of her life by herself and get these younger ones in there, because he's only like 3 years old and he's got the drive of a 3-year-old monitor. He wants to breed everything and anything. So just getting the right females that are that same locality, because I've been offered other ones and I actually had a mishap with one that I just got that was a different locality, and I wasn't happy about breeding it, but just to get captive bred quints in that situation, I was like, you know what, you got to do what you got to do. But I try to stay. I'm like super stay locality specific, unless you have to. Like if Oore came in and there were 2 different localities, there's not much I could do there. Same with the Nicaras. But stuff that's readily accessible, like Kamingi and Black Dragon and stuff like that, like breed pure. There's no need to do that with stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You got to do it because, like I said, Indonesia can shut at any point, and like I said, there's Philippines. You're not even allowed to export anything out, so you've pretty much got what you've got there. So, yeah, people need to keep at least some stuff pure, is what I say. If you really want to do all this hybrid stuff, do it. But can you just have like one project that's important that you can just keep pure?
Yeah.
Hydrosaurus there.
Yeah, that's my big male Sailfin. Another one that I raised. Supposedly that's a tribrid or one of those.
Okay.
Mostly Celebensis though.
Yeah.
From my understanding.
Yeah, they're very, very impressive.
Yeah, that's the turquoise right there. Down
that one?
Yeah, that one.
Nice.
Yeah,
cool. They're really cool. Do you want to talk about how you found them? Because, like I said, not many people keep them at all.
Yeah, it was crazy. When I went on MORPH Market one day, and I'm like, I didn't know much about them, but I was like, I can't believe I'm looking at one of these right now for sale. And it was really expensive. And then a couple months went by, got taken off, and I kind of gave up. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably never see one of those again. And then a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, Chris Foley, he put it up for sale, and I texted him instantly, and I'm like, dude, I need to have it. I don't know why, because I'm not gonna be able to find a female, but I just want it. And it's cool. It's just cool to see, because it's literally blue from head to tail. It's just the camera doesn't pick it up like that, but you can see it a little bit. It's like a hue over its whole body. Very interesting monitor.
Do you know how to pronounce the Latin on them? We just call them Calabetex here still, which is what they were.
I don't even want to attempt. I couldn't
name. I tried to look into like why it was named. I need to speak to Robert, actually. He'll be able to tell me how to pronounce it and why it's called that. But it's the most awkward. Varanus pluverans.
Yeah.
I've
heard so many different things, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
All right, let's stick to turquoise.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally the worst thing about them. Like I said, we're lucky to keep quite a few here, and they're again not aggressive and really beautiful. So do you think there's no?
Very much. They're very, very similar.
Yes. Yeah. So you think there's just that one in the USA, or do you know?
I've never seen another one. I know they came in. Everyone tells me that they came in like 20 years ago. They were around pretty regularly, but I have not seen another one in my lifetime. So
interesting. Yeah. Let's go through this. If there's anything you want to talk about, mate, just let me know. Spinosaurus, very cool. Not a monitor, but
yeah, I got that. They were breeding. This is my first year. I've raised them for the last 2.5 years. They were crazy small as babies. I got them. They were literally this big. And my friend gave them to me, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep these things going. And he's like, you got it. And here we are 2.5 years later. I put them through their first brumation this year, and they were 55 degrees for about 3 months. I brought them up, I fed them, and then paired them. Instantaneously were breeding. Honestly, probably the easiest thing I've ever bred.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the Oore right there when I got them. Up a little bit.
Up a little bit.
Right,
that one. Yeah, these are the ones that possibly stay a bit smaller, but the jury's out a little bit. We got some that apparently started like that and have got really big. But like I said, we've had females that size that have bred. So there could be 2 localities, because there's just 2 islands pretty close next to each other.
I've heard that a lot with like roughnecks too. Like roughnecks, we always get that small locality, but somebody just brought in the bigger ones that are supposedly all jet black. I've never seen them in person, but they say that they get like 5 foot long.
Yeah.
It's
No,
crazy.
for years. Yeah, the really big ones, the really big all black ones, I haven't seen for years and years.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are super underrated. I can't wait to produce some more of these and get some more capture bred ones out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, send some over to the States. Maybe would be good.
Congratulations again, and I saw that, and I was so happy that I saw you do it.
Yeah, they're like I said, they're like a proper monitors, like a monitor person's monitor. The oval.
Yeah.
I think most people would just look at them as just some ugly looking monitor, but when you've kept them and you're really into the monitors, they are definitely something special.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of a turquoise. Where I love their scientific name, the Oore. That's such a cool name.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's my buddy Shadow. That's my giant black dragon on the left.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Step through here.
That was the black throat that I hatched beginning of last year, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still work with them?
I don't. I that's something like I like them, but there's so many other brands that I kind of like more. They're cool, but they're
Cool.
kind of tricky. And they're kind of the albigs are kind of tricky. So I took a break from them. I could see me getting them again in the future, but I only like the black throats. The white throats aren't really for me. I like big stuff.
Yeah. We'd love some of those over here. The guys are going mad for them. We
Really?
can't get them over here. Yeah. They would go mad for them because they like the really big monitors. One of them at the competition would probably win, to be honest.
Yeah.
So if you ever do get any, we'd be up for some importing some of them for sure. Because we've been trying to get them all over the place. But
Brian Duraka just bred a bunch. I think he's just got eggs, like 30-something eggs the other day.
Oh yeah, I might speak to him then.
Yep.
Maybe I have to send him something he wants and get some of them back.
He's working with you on that's like his dream monitor.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, what everybody's telling me.
Yeah. I mean, they're super special, and once they get cracked, they'll be fine if you get the capture bred ones and get them up. But yeah, they're super hard to sex. Is the biggest thing with them is they're just so difficult to sex compared to other monitors. I think a lot of the problem is you just putting two males together or two females together and not even knowing about it.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to be the guy that does it. I mean, he got babies and he's doing it the right way. He's raising them up, and he cracked the blue tails. So I don't think he won't be able to crack those.
Yeah, I mean they're so similar to each other, and I'm sure it'll go well with them. So, is there anything you want to add? Any projects or anything like that, or you think you're full up and just want to crack on with what you got?
I don't think there's anything I really want to add on. Just my biggest project and my biggest goal, breeding wise, is to get the Nicaras going. I'd love to get that going, but just like any monitor guy, I want to breed everything eventually. It's just I try to tackle one project at a time. I'm not that kind of. Yeah. I was when I was younger, like I got to have everything, but those days kind of phase, and you want to just focus. And I try to tackle one species at a time. If I get them going, like the quints, I got them going now. I just got to get another female, and I think as soon as I pair them, I can continue to breed those. The peach throats, I think I got. It's just like I'm trying to get everything I have breeding before I take on anything else. And right now, I'm at that phase where I'm still raising up a lot of babies, so I have plenty to work on right now. It's just the Nicaras are number one, and it's like a hope and a dream at this point because I think there's like 3 more females in the entire country, and then after that, it's we got to try to import some or figure something out, which isn't obviously easy. So hopefully in the future. Yep.
Yeah, they're very, very, very cool. So what's your take on the monitor hobby as a whole? Do you think we're going in the right direction? Do you think people are too much about the hype and the clout and cross and everything, or do you think we are being positive and working in the right direction?
Yeah. I think we're headed as the actual monitor community. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think there's bad apples that might think that they're in the monitor community and aren't really. Those are the ones that kind of ruin it for all of us. But I think we're heading in the right direction. The monitor community is very tight. I mean, here we are. I'm in Pennsylvania and you're in Indonesia and we're doing a podcast. So I think it's very close knit, and I think we're as a whole headed in the right direction. We all want the same things. There's always bad apples and everything, and I think they'll phase themselves out. I just hope that everybody does the right thing with all these morphs and stuff, because it's easy to fall down that trap too. I'm guilty of it. I almost fell down the same thing. like geckos, ball pythons, and that's not really what monitors are about. There's enough there, like I said before, with species and localities to keep you way busy enough. I see stuff all the time, like we were talking beforehand about the calico Oore, and it's like I'm still learning of stuff that I've never seen, and like I'd rather work with stuff like that than these super these ball python kind of morphs that are coming out. I don't need to do any of that stuff. I'd rather wait until one day, 10 years from now, a calico Oore comes in. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, might be sooner than you think. Hopefully I can get some over here and get some over to you guys.
Cool. They're crazy. They remind me a lot of the Nicaras with how the white and the red, but man.
You didn't post them that was on a story, wasn't it? You didn't post those on your
I didn't.
On your Instagram. No, that's a shame.
Yeah. No, somebody I was just scrolling and it came up and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I fell down the rabbit hole going through his page and it's a guy over there and he has a ton of crazy looking stuff. Like even the quints. Yeah. There was quints with banding that looked like Samarensis. Like they're not like your typical banding. I've never seen stuff like that before. And I think as a guy in the United States, and I mean everybody over here, you don't even know that stuff exists until you start seeing it on Instagram. And I feel like we're in that time where we're just able to even see that stuff to begin with. Because we've gotten the same kind of melanus my entire life. I've never seen anything different but the same locality. So you can see these darker ones that are coming in, like these silver looking ones. They're cool, but like stuff like that's mind blowing. So I think there's a lot to see. We don't need to do any more crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's the big thing. There's so much of these, especially as these guys got Instagram and stuff. I obviously see a lot of it over here. It's just like mind blowing, and it's naturally occurring, almost a morph in itself with stuff.
The localities almost act like morphs. You don't even need to create them; they're all there.
So we'll start wrapping up. Is there anyone you can put me onto that I might not know about in the USA that would be good to get on the podcast, or is there anyone that's impressed with the breedings or any projects they got on at the moment?
There's so many people. I'm sure you know Brian. Brian would be the first one besides Uncle Mike that I would think of.
Duraka.
Yeah, Brian Duraka.
Yeah. I need to message him for sure.
Doing some crazy stuff. I don't know if you've had John Dragon on.
No, I spoke to John the other day though. Yeah, he's on the list. He's for sure. Yeah, he does. He's old school, so he's got lots of stories. Excellent.
Yeah. There's a ton of people. Those are probably the number ones. Brian definitely, especially with the blue tails and everything that he's doing.
Sweet. So if anyone's got anything in the chat they want to ask Nick, we're just going to start wrapping it up. So what's next for Unlimited Exotics?
What's next is I have a son on the way within the next 3 months. So that's my first year. Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. So that's number one. That's the focus right now is to give him something to look up to, and hopefully he's into animals and monitors too. The way I was brought up in a household with all crazy stuff. I mean, I grew up with little marmosets and stuff running around my house. So I was going into this at a young age, and my whole family, like I'm the one that kind of ran with it. I'm the oldest, and I kind of ran with it. My whole family likes animals. They just don't keep like the volume that I do. They all have their own things with dogs and stuff. But I hope he has that same drive. I think that's kind of something that's built in people. I feel like it was for me. I was that kid that used to run around with frogs and everything in my hands, and since I can remember. So I think that's kind of built in. I hope he has that same drive too. But after that, I'm really trying to figure out where I want to continue this. If it's up here, if it's in Pennsylvania, I've been looking a lot at Tennessee and down south because we talked about, again, in the beginning, we talked a lot before this.
It's always the way.
A whole facility, and I want to build it underground. I'm thinking the more I think about it, because it's just if you look at a lot of, and I'm nothing against guys in the South, but a lot of breeding happens in these guys, like they have basements in these facilities that are underground because it holds so much humidity and holds the heat and everything. And I want to kind of expand on that. So I was going to build this giant barn like I have now at my dad's, but I think I'm going to try to build some kind of big underground facility. And
amazing.
I'm just trying to decide where I want to do that. I love where I live now, but the winters kind of suck, and it's far from everything. Pennsylvania is a kind of a weird state. It's a great state. I grew up in New Jersey. It's better than New Jersey, but I'm thinking I want to go to Tennessee or something like that, where things are a little cheaper and away from cities and stuff like that. And I want to get like 40, 50 acres and just kind of do this and have no disturbances. So that's the next step. Decide where I want
like I said, sounds very exciting. Where's the best place for people to get hold of you?
Unlimited Exotics on Facebook or Instagram is probably the best. Starting to get more on the YouTube and do videos on like how to sex monitors and how to talk more about that gout situation that we talked about. Just things that you don't really see a lot on. I don't know of any videos out there that really emphasize on how to breed monitor. I mean, how to sex monitors and breed monitors eventually. But
there's actually nothing.
I want to really try to talk about that. And that's all Uncle Mike's teaching over the years and just stuff that I've implemented in doing my own studies and stuff too. So try to help people because that's number one. What I get on social media is what is this? Is this a male or a female? All the time, every day. I probably get like 10, 20 messages about that. So I figured if there's a video out there, it would definitely be easier for people to understand and they could rewatch it over and over again. That's how I learn. It's just rewatching something. I watched Croc Doc's videos probably 100 times. So
so good, eh?
Yeah, good.
That series done is about. That's what I pretty much send people to now for the breeding side and stuff. I was like, he's done an amazing job of it. It pretty much works for all monitors. I've watched it 100 odd times myself, so it's pretty.
That's what got me breeding. It's just I want to pick up with videos past that point on like how to raise babies and how to sex babies and all that stuff too, and take off from there.
Awesome. Well, have you got any final bits of advice for anyone keeping or breeding monitors, or one bit of advice you'd want to give them?
Don't follow the crowd of doing what everybody else is doing. With like, if say black dragons, if everybody's breeding black dragons, go what interests you. If it is black dragons, do it. But find your niche. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. And that was huge for me. As I was trying to follow the newest and best thing for a long time until I was like, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Nick. We'll definitely get you on for part 2, mate. The new facility sounds amazing, and you're going to have your hands full with your little one on the way. So congratulations again on that. Anything else you want to shout out? If not, we'll just close out.
Just thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate all you're doing over there. I love your Instagram and your Facebook and all that stuff. That it's so cool to see in situ what's going on. So
thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Excellent. No worries. Like I said, I'll definitely get you on for part 2. I'll speak to you afterwards. I'll just close out. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be back next week for the trip report with Nick Mutton and Ryan Young that I had to cancel because I was in hospital. And then we'll go back to bi-weekly. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in again. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And like I said at the start, it's totally free. But I will see you next week. Thanks again for tuning in. Cheers. Bye-bye.